Hey guys, this is my final Anomaly Arbitration video. I just wanted to make a special dedicated video for Anomaly Arbitration, which is my final thoughts on Illwish Archlotus. This specific happiness syntax Anomaly Arbitration. This is actually my final video. So if you check out all of our Anomaly Arbitration showcase that we have done in the past couple of days, we have done the testings for every single DPS in Anomaly Arbitration. And it honestly scares me because the longer this game proceeds, the longer this is gonna get. So, but like, who knows, bro, by version 5, one Anomaly Arbitration testing is gonna take me 6 hours. 7 hours, 20 hours, who knows, right? So I just want a little bit of a heads up. I personally think y'all probably won't watch all that anyways. Like, out of like every single one of the DPS that I've done here, like, touch your heart, you probably watch like 2 or 3 at max, right? So going forward, as much as I would love to showcase every single DPS, we are going to start killing DPSs for our Anomaly Arbitration showcase, starting off from the version 1s. Scylla is an exception because she does go to Nova Flare, but if not, some of the version 1 and version 2 DPS, if they are like performing way too badly and they are not getting a Nova Flare, then it is what it is. So for example, the first person that's probably gonna be getting eliminated, nothing personal, it's just business, right? Second person to get eliminated, I mean, frankly speaking, right, I know very little people that play Boot Hill and very little people that play Reba. If I throw a stone, a pebble into a crowd of super break mains, 90% of the time they main Fireflies. So these two will probably be going EOS. Bro, this feels like EOS, bro. The EOS for Anomaly Arbitration until they eventually get a Nova Flare or a special dedicated support in the future. For version 3, I think so far the performances has been quite good. Every single one of our DPS cleared. D Herda was dangerously scary. We almost could not clear, but because she is the peerless gem against 40% ice and wind rest, we still pulled out this 6 cycle at E0. Alright, so just a little bit of a heads up on the summary of Anomaly Arbitration. Second announcement on my final thoughts on Anomaly Arbitration. I think the way, okay, not so much related to Anomaly, but going forward, we are probably going to strip away more and more of our relatability. Because if you think about it, right, you are technically less relatable by running in E0 DPS as a free-to-play player after like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Because if you were a free-to-play player and you wanted to play that set DPS team, you would have given them the necessary vertical investments in either their supports or their islands. Alright, this is okay, and this is a very serious discussion. So for example, if you were a Phylon main, you will definitely get his E2. It is unrelatable for me to showcase a Phylon clear for Phylon mains wanting to get the best Phylon performance at a E0 Phylon, especially after one entire year, right? Because, like, be for real, if you are gonna leave your Phylon at E0 after one entire year, you probably don't want to use him anymore. And if you don't want to use him anymore, then why would you watch a Phylon showcase at E0, right? So I think it will make more sense by going forward. If you are watching that specific DPS showcase, it should demonstrate the best cost investments for each respective DPS in a DPS that you want to play. My job as a content creator is to try to give the best possible cost investment advice for every single DPS, because my account is basically our account at this point, right? It is these findings and gameplays that will offer you guys the insights to make your own decisions whether you want to play that set DPS at an optimal cost investment. So going forward, if we ever get, let's just say for example, an E2 Cyrene, I don't want to hear all that.
The greatest
Right, if we, for example, get an E2 Final, an E2 Herda, an E1 Aglaia, I don't want to hear all that. So that is pretty much the second announcement. Now, with these two announcements out of the way, I'm just going to start yapping a little bit for Illwish Archlotus. Editor, add some B-rolls in the background. Alright, thank you. Illwish Archlotus. I personally think, as the man that has most likely played the highest number of hours in Anomaly Arbitration compared to any HSR players out there, this is probably the more difficult Anomaly Arbitrations, comparatively speaking, to the past. That being said, alright, nothing is as difficult as Ligas. But I specifically remember back then, before DHPT was a thing, before you ever had access to the different sustains, if you did not have the Remembrance Flagship or an E2 Final, no DPS could consistently clear Ligas because the sustained pressure with Sunder was so fucking high. Aquila, with DHPT, it made the pressure a lot lower. So ever since this Anomaly Arbitration, you can see that we are gonna be getting a lot more clears. But also at the same time, I'm not sure if y'all noticed, a lot of our clears, even for non-version 3 teams, we are getting roughly 3 cycle, 4 cycle clears. Alright, and then for our version 3 teams themselves, to be fair, a lot of them were like very, very low cost investments, but they are all hovering around 4 cycles on average, right? And then Dahlia was the patch with Sunday. Then Sunday was, you can see, getting a, wow, look at the shielding, right? It was still roughly a 4 cycle to 5 cycle average between those teams. I don't know why we did that for Zenla Zone 0. And then this is gonna be Anomaly Sparsicon that we just got. I don't even know what that is. But we do see also very decent-ish clears, right? 3 cycles, right? 3 cycles, 0 cycles, 2 cycles, couple of 3 cycles leading towards the 5 cycles. Then Anomaly Pom-Pom, it is gonna be where we get a lot more shield environments towards the Elation. So we are gonna start seeing more 5 cycles, right? Generally a little bit more 5 cycles. This is a crazy-ass fucking clear though. This, bro, that 1 cycle Fei Xiao was a crazy ass clear. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, with this Anomaly Arbitration, I would say Anomaly Archlotus, you are gonna start looking at some 6. Okay, this was just sad. Or this was just sad. But we are gonna lean more towards the 5 cycles, the 6 cycles, even for the version 2 and version 1s, which I guess if you have the Noah Flare is really, really good. Generally, the difficulty spike for this boss, it's definitely tight, not just for Archlotus herself, but also that wave 2 with the triple split Joy Ascended. It takes up a lot of action value to kill them 3 separate times. Because you can't just one-shot Joy Ascended as a single target DPS, and you can't one-shot Joy Ascended as a AoE DPS. You specifically had to use a DPS that had the ability to carry over damage between her transformations. And that DPS is only Silver Wolf or Asheville. Alright, I mean, it is what it is, right? If you are gonna be playing AoE or single target, you overkill that shit, you still need to do it again after bro gets the next phase. So that wave 2 honestly contributed quite a bit as to why you're probably gonna be wasting a lot more action values before even going into Archlotus herself. So that's that. Wave 1 is actually pretty okay because the Monkey Banana has the Bleed Dogs. The bleed does a substantial amount of damage, and as long as you run a DHPT with the shield, the monkey should die pretty quickly. Then now towards the Illwish Archlotus herself, the annoying mechanic is that for your supports and sustains that wants to cast your non-attacking skills, i.e. not basics, i.e. Sparkle, Sunday, Huan skill spam, that is when you're gonna be getting a little bit more of an issue, because they're probably gonna proc your global passive if you have a global passive. And if they proc your global passive in phase 1, you are gonna get fucked in the ass by phase 2. Till this day, and maybe somebody in the comment section could enlighten me, I don't know what is the actual determinant as to whether do you even get crowd controlled by the ultimate. Because at this point, I'm just convinced, doesn't matter if you dispel the buff on your head or not, as long as you get hit with the right RNG, you can resist that shit. That is my understanding right now. I don't know how the hell that actually works, so it is what to do. But if you are not able to save yourself that phase 2, chances are you are gonna be start looking at the 5 to 6 cycle dispatch. And the more important thing is, the flowers spawning gave a lot of wasted damage to bounce DPSs that could not clear the flowers fast enough. So for example, if you are gonna be playing a Nexa and D-Herda honestly is not that bad. Right, it's not that bad because you could just focus on the guy with the highest amount of HP is fine. But a Nexa's damage was like just flying all the place because the flowers just kept wasting blows damage. Same shit for Akron because their ultimate do be bouncing everywhere, right? And if you're gonna be running pure single target DPS, you have to ignore the flowers and just go all in Archlotus, hoping you can deal enough damage to Archlotus before the flowers convert your team. So it's like a race against time. Alright, so your units like Face Yao, right? Your Boot. I guess Boot was not that bad because we clear around the same as Reba. But those flowers are a big annoyance with regards to whether or not you can clear. And even if you can clear said flowers, the only people that actually benefits from the flowers dying are your Elation DPS, which is your Silver Wolf, which is your Evanesia, and your Sparksy. Right, because you get punchlines. No other DPS gives a flying fuck about the punchlines. So a lot of times, the flowers are purely just HP sponges to waste your time. So you should try to not clear them as long as you can. Because unless you can clear 6 flowers, the amount of damage that you have wasted on 6 flowers, especially as a single target DPS, it is just like not worth it. So you should just go on, right? Which is basically what we did for our E1 Archer. Like at the start, we tried to like do a little bit of splash damage with DHPD and Trippy, right? Then the flowers got low, and then we cleared them out to prevent them crowd controls and remove the stacks. But most of the time when we were running E1 Archer, we just went all in on Archlotus to kill Archlotus as fast as possible, right? So that is gonna be that. Next thing though, the shielding for Illwish Archlotus, it's pretty bad. But it is not the end of the world kind of bad, because you could technically play around it and get yourself a clear. So this is like, I would say this would be a really bad fight if you cannot clear this with the investments that you have made on those teams. But we have that base, because Anomaly Arbitration's mechanic is that by the time you reach Cycle 5 and Cycle 6, your damage goes up substantially. So I think that's how like Holyverse, they are trying to make sure that as many players can still clear this, whether or not you're running Elation. It is just that if you're not running Elation, it is almost impossible to get a 3-star clear, because it does not incentivize you getting fast clears, since damage bonus comes towards the end. Alright, so I think in the future, I would love to see if there are ways that we can improve our damage in the early game without backloading so many of those buffs towards the end, so that we can get around the 4 to 5 cycle average. And then for the absolutely fucking cooked teams, maybe we go towards 5 to 6. Alright, so that is gonna be that. And then one last thing before I just finally end off this anomaly ranting or yapping. Some tips and tricks, right? Some tips and tricks. If I can kindly divert your attention right here, this was the results I found for my Evanesia versus Silver Wolf dispatch. Now, our Anomaly Arbitration is only going to last for another 3 more weeks, because that's 21 days or 24 days. So by the time Evanesia goes away, we're going to be getting another boss. And I am guessing, right? I am guessing the next boss that's going to come up, it is most likely going to be favoring Mortonix's Blade. And if Mortonix's Blade does end up to be a Nihility support, I feel it's probably an Akron support. I don't think it makes sense for them to buff DOT again, because DOT already has a fixed T of 3, and DOT is not even doing that bad, but Aggron is legit fucking homeless. So I feel it's probably Aggron. So with that being established, if you do want to see yourself like getting a good Anomaly performance because you're an Aggron main, maybe you might want to consider in terms of your vertical cost investments, right? For this current Anomaly, you can just kind of take a look at the best possible clears. I think if you want to get yourself a optimal way of utilizing punchline / bangers between Evanescence and Silver Wolf, I would not pick both, because both they perform very, very similarly, right? It is like literally within less than 20 action value difference, which you can easily fix by having more relics, better relics, more speed, action value advance, or whatever it's gonna be, right? So there really isn't like a wrong answer as to is Evanescence better or is Silver Wolf better. Pick the one that you want to play more and then go from there. That being said, in the future, I kind of want to see whether or not Silver Wolf gets the elation sustain first, or will Evanescence get the elation support first. In other words, will Huehue get replaced first, or will EMC get replaced first? That's my guess. And then whichever comes, I think it will be a lot clearer to see which is the direction of the real main push for version 4, right? So with that, I have come to a quick little end of our final thoughts on this Anomaly Arbitration Illwish Archlotus. Alright, before I go, I almost forgot this one thing. Why? Why the actual fuck do you hate the Mimi so much? Why, bro? Like, you already hate Remembrance with the fucking flowers. You already hate Remembrance with the crowd control for the highest. So why do you hate Remembrance so much to add the 40% eyes rest and 40% wind rest? Why? Right? Word of the day is gonna be why. Join Discord, use code BOOTEMSOFT, GamersOft, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Oh, because Mimi can't say like, you're absolutely fucking right. Mimi is a fucking homeless guy.